Hello, assalamu alaikum and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Health is Wealth. I am your host, Shabnam Riaz. Okay, today we're going to, carry on with the subject that we were speaking about last week, and that is sleep disorders. We've had great feedback from people. People want to know about many other issues. It seems that sleep disorders is something that a lot of people are concerned of, and it is affecting quite a lot of people. So, we're happy to have with us again in our studios Dr. Suhail Naseem, who's a pulmonologist, sleep specialist, critical care specialist, and also the director of the Sleep Disorder Centre at Shifa International. Thank you very much, Dr. Suhail, for joining us again.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so we've had great feedback from people, which means that people are concerned about this. That it seems that so many people were actually surprised to hear that there's actually a sleep centre.
Right.
They didn't know that. They didn't know that as well. And it seems every other person has some sort of difficulty in either falling asleep or staying asleep. Or waking up at wrong times, as we did discuss in that program.
Right.
So, there are different degrees of sleep disorders, as you said in that program. How are they actually diagnosed? Can you take us through that process?
There are broadly classifying, there are two kinds of sleep disorders that we're talking about here. One is, insomnia, which is lack of sleep, or the way you described earlier, waking up early. And the other disorder is usually excessive sleepiness, which is also known as hypersomnolence.
That's another one that surprised many people, because they thought, okay, if we're sleeping for a long time, that means it's a good thing.
Correct. Well, sleeping at the appropriate time for a long time is maybe not a disorder, but falling asleep in inappropriate times and in inappropriate situations is a disorder. Like if someone is sitting here talking to me and he falls asleep, someone who's driving falls asleep, someone who's sitting in the office doing computer work, if he falls asleep, that is, or someone in a meeting, important meeting, that is inappropriate sleep, So then it is considered a disorder. And there are many people, millions of people in this world that they are going through that because they're, in our hospital, we put up some signs which lists only 2 or 3 symptoms, like are you excessively sleepy, are you always drowsy, are you always tired? And a lot of people can relate to that because when at the time when you're supposed to be fresh and active, if you're tired and drowsy all the time, then there is some problem with you. So these are the two basic categories of sleep disorders: insomnia and hypersomnolence. Now, hypersomnolence is usually because of poor quality sleep, while insomnia is lack of sleep. Now, poor quality sleep can be because of many reasons. It could be because of snoring, it could be because of sleep apnea, which means sleep apnea means that a person, when he's sleeping, can have episodes where for up to 10 to 30 seconds they don't breathe. There's no air coming in and out of their lungs. So that episode is called an apnea. And if it happens repeatedly throughout the night, then we classify as that sleep apnea syndrome. So during sleep apnea, what happens is that, because of lack of oxygen or because of lack of airflow, the mind repeatedly wakes up to a subconscious level and tells the patient or the person to breathe. So this cycle continues throughout the night. While the person thinks he's sleeping, his mind is actually not resting, and
it's struggling with this sort of phenomenon of
So even if they sleep 8 to 12 hours, they wake up, they're still tired because their mind has not rested, and any more chance they get, or they sit down idly, they fall asleep again. So those are the patients who are suffering.
So just to interrupt you there, just to tell our audience and bring them back in the loop as well. If you are waking up tired and you're waking up exhausted, that means you are not getting the right quality sleep.
If you have spent enough time in bed, if you have enough time in bed, enough hours of sleep, then, and still if you wake up tired, then you are suffering from
okay, so that's one of your number one signs, that you have had the adequate amount of sleep, the duration, but you're waking up and you're tired or you're drowsy or you've got muscle aches or whatever,
Exactly.
it means you're not getting the right quality sleep.
Correct.
So, right.
Correct.
Okay.
And the poor quality sleep could be because of snoring, could be because of sleep apnea, or could be because of there's another disorder called periodic limb movement disorder, that where people when they're sleeping their legs twitch.
The restless leg syndrome? Is that the same thing?
During the daytime, we classify as that restless leg syndrome, where patients have to keep stretching their legs and rubbing them or standing up and walking every few minutes. But when they're sleeping, their legs, their muscles keep twitching. And when we do a polysomnogram or a sleep study, we see that with every twitch, they have a little arousal in their brain. So that those twitching is keeping their mind awake, on and off, on and off.
So it's basically the mind not getting the rest that is leading to the problems.
Right, right. Okay. The daytime problems, the next day.
Right. All right, okay.
So these for hypersomnolence, and based after we interview the patient, we schedule them to get a polysomnogram, which is also known as a sleep study, in which they come into a dedicated bedroom, sort of a room, where they sleep, and we attach some electrodes in their mind to assess their sleep quality.
Okay.
And then we also monitor their airflow. We monitor their leg movements, we monitor their heart rate, we monitor their oxygen level, and that's how we make a diagnosis.
Okay, can you repeat the name again, what that is?
It's the technical term is called polysomnogram.
Polysomnogram. So that's your sort of test for your diagnosis.
Correct.
For how your sleep is.
Right.
Okay.
And a lot of people also call it a sleep study, which is a layman's term.
Okay.
So
how long would that go on for? Do you have to have
overnight.
a night's sleep? Okay.
Overnight.
Okay, now here's the ironic bit. For the insomniac, and they come to your sleep center, and they're in this new place, they can't fall asleep.
They can't fall asleep. So basically, it's more reliable for patients with hypersomnolence. So see people that are sleep too much, or who are always tired during the day. So for them, it is very easy to fall asleep anywhere. If you can fall asleep in a meeting full of, room full of people, if you can fall asleep in a bus or a car.
And usually miss your stop. Many people fall asleep on buses and trains and miss their stops, don't they?
They do, unfortunately. And, for the longest time, nobody thought that it was a problem, because back in the 70s when the sleep medicine developed, when we started monitoring their sleep quality, then we figured out. Otherwise, nobody knew that
the connection wasn't made.
It was a problem. So those people can sleep anywhere. So for them, they come in, they around 8:30 at night. We hook them up, and they sleep till 6 in the morning. And during that night, a technician is there, and we record all their vitals and their sleep quality.
Okay,
so that's called a polysomnogram.
And is this a costly test, or is it affordable for many people? What is the sort of the dynamics there?
It's relatively costly because it requires a lot of monitoring. There's a technician with you all night, and all the sophisticated machinery, and and it's an 8-hour test, so it's not like you go in for 1 minute, have an X-ray done, and you walk out.
Of course,
so it involves overnight monitoring, and of course the room and the machine, but still it's not out of reach. It's for there are two good sleep centers that I know of in Pakistan. One is ours, which is state of the art in Shifa Hospital in Islamabad, and another one is in Karachi in Aga Khan University.
Okay.
And we are, I think, cheaper than Aga Khan.
Okay, right. That's good.
And a lot of people do home testing as well. They have like portable machines that they can, come to your home and hook you up to the machine to diagnose any sleep-related breathing problems. But they do not monitor your brain activity. They only monitor the airflow and the movement. So it's kind of partial test. It's only good for sleep apnea patients.
Okay.
Right? And And it does, I mean, pick up sometimes, but it's not as reliable, obviously.
Obviously, okay. Now, an interesting question I wanted to ask you. It's a bit sort of a, you know, it involves a few other dimensions. Being a creative person myself as well, I write poetry. So, you know, when creative people get together, it seems that the main thing that many of us are talking about is insomnia, different types of insomnia. Maybe it's the delayed onset of falling asleep. Maybe it's the, you know, the ability to stay asleep or the quality of sleep. So creativity and sleep disorders and insomnia, do they have a link?
Not directly, but any time when someone is too concerned about whatever kind of work they're doing, either it's painting, a nice painting, if it is writing a book, it's writing a poetry, making a movie. So it involves a lot of thought process, and the thought process, unfortunately, it's not something that you can just switch on and off. You know, it comes when it comes.
Absolutely.
So there are some tips we sometimes advise people about, is like, you know, try to dedicate some time before you sleep and jot down things that come to your mind and the ideas, and try to get whatever you have out of your mind. If you want, if you're in your case, if you're thinking of writing some poetry and you have part of it already in your mind, write it down and try to get whatever else is in your mind to get out on the paper, right? And then you can go back and relax and go to sleep.
Okay.
But but it's very difficult. Obviously, these ideas can come whenever they want to come. So, but it helps if you organize yourself a little bit, dedicate some time, think about the things that whatever you want to do or write, and try to get it out of your mind as much as possible. And after that, it works much better in people who have a stressful jobs and they have a lot of things on their mind regarding what they have to do, the chores they have to run, the meetings they have to go to. So for them it helps that if they sit down and they write down whatever they're going to do the next day and kind of organize their schedule, then they stop thinking about it that much.
It's basically offloading, isn't it? Or everything that is in there.
Right.
You've got to process it somewhere and bring it out in some sort of, you know, way with the mind. Is it something to do, because the more you have stored inside, you're thinking about, many times we're just worrying about something as well, aren't we? That how are we going to do this, how are we going to do that? So that may be a way to sort of get things in front of you and into some sort of structure.
Right. It does help, like I said, in some people, but as far as artists, I'm not sure, but I would think it would help. I would think, you know, that if you're writing a book or something, you know, and you can, if you have certain ideas, you can write them down. So then you will probably not think as much.
Fine-tune them later.
Right. Fine-tune them later the next day.
Right. Okay. High levels of IQ, people who are very intelligent, high achievers, people who've done a lot. If you read their biographies, you'll find that many of them have said, you know, we only slept 4 hours a night, 5 hours a night, and we're fine, we're good to go. What's that?
I guess every person has a different requirement. When we generalize it, we say it's 6 to 8 hours, but every human being has different needs. I sleep 6 to 7 hours. My brother sleeps 8 to 9 hours. My uncle sleeps 5 hours. So everybody has a different sleep requirement. As long as they're functional and during the daytime, and they don't think that they're sleep deprived, then it is not a problem. It's usually if you have 4 hours, if you sleep 4 hours and you have good quality of sleep and you are fresh, then it is okay. But if you have to have good quality sleep.
That is the key thing. So you see, there again, Dr. Suhail is saying that it's not the quantity necessarily, it's the quality. The quality is very important. If you are sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night and you find that you're fine in the morning, you're focused, you can concentrate, you're not feeling drowsy, and you're not feeling sleepy. That means you're getting good quality sleep, and you can get along with that. So that's nothing to worry about.
And sometimes I see patients in my clinic who do come in with this complaint that I only sleep 5 hours, and then I question them, so how do you feel during the daytime? Do you have a headache? Do you have a hangover? Do you feel tired? And if the answers are no, then all we do is reassure them that
you're
it's
okay.
You know,
it's no problem.
As long as if your body needs more sleep, you will sleep more.
Okay. Now, Dr. Sood, tell us about the body in general throughout the age, you know, the ages, and how much sleep generally we require. How does that, you know?
Well, starting from infants, they sleep almost 15 to 20 hours a day because their brain is
for the lucky parents. For the lucky parents, otherwise the colic babies.
But I think the cumulative sleep still comes out to be most of the time during the day they spend sleeping.
Hence the phrase "sleep like a baby."
Sleep like a baby, exactly. Yeah. And you know, their sleep helps their body to develop also. You know, there are certain hormones that go up and down with sleep and wakefulness, and so it helps with their growth and their development.
And consequently, the mother also, she would need to catch up on her sleep as well, because she's had such a tiring time throughout the pregnancy and then the delivery and then, you know, with the baby. So, you know, it'd be a good thing if they're sleeping at the same time together, isn't it?
But it doesn't happen that way. The mother is still sleep deprived and the baby gets most of the sleep, unfortunately.
True.
But so their body needs that much sleep, and their brain is developing, their body is developing, they need that sleep. So as they grow older, that need starts getting less and less. You know, by 20s you're sleeping 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
You know, and then by 40s you're sleeping 6 to 8 hours, and when you get into 60s, 70s, your sleep requirements keep getting less and less. So towards the elderly, we see they go to bed at 12, they are up at 4:30 to say their prayers, and then they go back to sleep, maybe sleep another hour, then they get up, and so as you go older, the sleep requirement gets lesser and lesser.
Okay. Then, you know, the sort of, I don't know why you have a sort of image of the elderly sort of dozing off in a chair or something like that. That's sort of people who are very much older.
Well, I think there are several reasons, could be reasons for that. One is their schedule, maybe, you know, like they wake up early to say their prayers and stuff, plus they're bored, they sit home all day, they don't have to go to work.
Boredom, that's true.
You know, they have nothing to do, they have no, you know, activities. So if you're just sitting around all day, you might doze off after a while. You know, how much TV can you watch?
You know, you brought up a very important point here, even though it's not related directly to the sleep disorder, but old age, that's something that everyone should be prepared for, whether it's yourself or a member of the family. How can we sort of, you know, plan for our own old age or for somebody, you know, a parent, to keep them, as you said, you know, occupied?
Right. That's a very important thing. We've all witnessed that as our parents get older and they retire and they lose purpose in life, they get very bored and they get lonely and they get depressed and they have all these issues. So there's always,
and they feel like nobody wants them anymore. They're not useful anymore.
Exactly, and there's a lot of things they could do when they're a little younger, develop certain hobbies, you know, like they join some club, start playing golf, or go for some, have friends that they can meet up and do things with. Because all of a sudden, when you don't have to wake up and get dressed and go to the office, then your whole day is purposeless.
So true.
You know, even on our days off, if we don't have any, after a couple of days of being off, you get bored.
You're the word you used.
If you're waking up and you have no plan or no purpose, so then there's nothing to look forward to.
You can fall into deep depression that way, can't you? So, you know, Dr. Sohail is saying something that's really important here, even though it's not directly linked to this sleep disorder issue, but When we're talking about old age, whether it be ourselves, our parents, somebody who's living with you, somebody you know, it's so important to cultivate at an earlier age a hobby that you know can be, used later on in life, and to look after the older members of the family and to make sure that they have something that they're interested in, because that is very important in giving them a sense of purpose.
Correct.
Absolutely right. Okay.
Correct.
So the babies will be sleeping around about nearly maximum
Right.
20 hours a day, and as you said, then the 20s will have how much sleep?
About 8 hours.
8 hours, and then
8
at
to 10
40
hours.
we'll then see a change,
Right,
and then once you're older.
There's a
Okay,
change.
right. Now, food and drink. How much of that will help treating sleep disorder, and how much of it is actually, increasing to a sleep disorder? So what do we need to avoid?
Well, there are certain foods which are supposedly which help with sleep. There's a chemical called tryptophan. Tryptophan is found in certain meats such as turkey.
Turkey, yeah.
And then there are certain drinks which are fermented, like the common one that we have in Pakistan, which is lassi.
Lassi,
So
okay.
it is fermented, and some I wouldn't say alcohol, but sort of precursor of alcohol in it. So they tend to help with the sleep. Now the golden idea is not to overeat.
Of
Always,
course.
obviously, if you especially don't eat late night before you go to bed. There should be several hours between
several hours.
several hours between
Okay.
the time you eat and between the time you
You're
lay
planning
down
to go to sleep. Okay.
right. So during that time, if you can maybe take a stroll or sit upright so that the food can move on, and not. And it's a bad idea to just eat and go straight to bed. Either during the day or during the night. It can lead to poor
Heartburn.
sleep quality, indigestion, and frequent awakenings.
Right.
Also, one other thing that it can do is cause nightmares.
Oh.
So nightmares can
Can
be
be caused
related
by-
to
Right, okay. We will talk about nightmares and night terrors as well. Right now we have to go for a break, so don't change the channel.
Save water for your future generation, environment, plants, animals for a healthy and enjoyable life on this planet.
Okay, welcome back to the program. Before we went to the break, we were speaking about nightmares. So, Dr. Sohail, what exactly are they, and can they affect anyone at any age?
Yeah, and nightmares are, it's actually not classified as a sleep disorder. It is because it's supposedly such a common phenomena. Unless they become pathological, meaning it starts happening too frequently and starts to disturb a person's sleep or creates a fear in their mind that that affects their sleep.
Or going to sleep.
Or going to
Yeah.
sleep, then it becomes a disorder. and we do see people in our sleep center or in my practice who come in with this complaint.
Okay.
Although not very common, but they every night they have a recurring similar type of a dream that they keep watching. The theme is the same.
And it picks up at the same place.
Right.
And,
The theme is the same, like some loved one is sick or they're lost in a jungle or some other issue with them. So they keep thinking about have the same similar dream, and it gets to a point where they get worried about falling asleep, and they're scared, and they wake up and after the dream and they can't go back to sleep because of the fear. So what causes that, nobody really knows. One of the things that recently the medical science suggests is possibly diet related, maybe if you eat too late and you go to bed. So all of us in our life experience nightmares, either.
And they seem so real.
They seem very real.
The thing is that, honestly, having a nightmare.
And you see, the nightmares that you remember are usually occur when you are in rapid eye movement sleep. So at that point, in fact, all the dreams that you remember are in rapid eye movement sleep. And during that sleep, if you remember, the whole body is paralyzed and only your brain is active. So it is getting all the nutrition, and the metabolic activity of the brain is very intense at that point. So that's when you start dreaming. And unfortunately what happens is, if you wake up during that dream, your body is paralyzed. So you're not able to immediately move until you come to a complete wakefulness.
Okay.
So it's very scary for some people if they're falling. If you see
the falling, I was going to ask you about that. That's a common. It seems like
you're falling somewhere and you wake up and you still can't control it sometimes, or you're in a situation you want to get out of it and
you're trying
you cannot move and for a few seconds until your sleep is totally worn off. So it's a common. Those are the only dreams that you remember which occur in rapid eye movement sleep. And because of the paralysis, it gets even more scary. So so we just counsel them, try to figure out maybe there's some underlying stress which is causing them to think about things. We advise them on exercise, diet, and occasionally we use medications to suppress REM sleep.
Are they ever referred to a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
We do. If we interview, we realize that they have other psychological issues also. And at the end, sometimes we do sleep. We give medicines that would suppress REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, so that if they don't get rapid eye movement sleep, they will not have nightmares.
Okay.
But it's not desirable, of course, because the natural sleep is the best sleep.
Of course, right. Sleepwalking. Do you get any patients?
Usually it's the younger people.
Okay.
Younger people, and usually they grow out of it. It's usually not.
Is it something to do with adolescence, puberty?
Less rarely once they grow older. The sleepwalking is usually a problem with younger kids or younger adults, but you tend to get over it. Now, some medications can cause retrograde amnesia, meaning like once you take sedatives to sleep, like benzodiazepines, like Ativan, Valium, they can sometimes cause antegrade amnesia also, meaning like a person can wake up at night, start walking or start doing things and not remember it the next day.
So how much is the mind awake at that time? Because as you said, in sleepwalking, the person will be getting up, maybe walking and taking things out of the fridge, maybe eating something, whatever, How much of the mind and the body are out of sync at that time?
They are actually, the cortical functions of the brain are not there, meaning the cortical functions of the brain are cortical, consciousness, decision making, thinking about, talking, hearing things, responding to stimuli, or stimulus. that function is not there, automatism is there.
Okay.
So you're functioning at a lower level of your nervous ability.
Right.
So
it's okay. So somebody in the family who sees someone who hasn't been sleepwalking before, and they find that they are sleepwalking, the signs are that the other person won't be responsive to them.
Won't be responsive.
And they'll be doing whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, then we see, these myths that we see, that people say that, never awaken somebody who's sleepwalking. Is that true?
Well, you can, it only if the concern is if you startle them or they injure themselves or you, but otherwise, medically speaking, there is no.
So what should you do if you see somebody?
Basically, you can gently hold them, take them back to the bed, put them back in bed, and make them comfortable, keep them calm, instead of making them, instead of startling
panicking.
them and making them panic. So gently deal with them, hold them, grab them, put them back to bed, and not to scare them.
Not to scare them, absolutely. Okay. So then what do you do? Take them to see somebody, of course?
If it becomes too frequent, then they should, but it, like I said, happens to a lot of people, and just as during kids, it happens and they usually grow out of it. So, so there's not I'm not aware of any physical or mental pathology that goes behind it.
Okay.
So it's just something, developmental kind of a thing, which usually they grow out of that when they grow older.
Okay. Now, are there some people who are more prone to having sleep disorders?
Okay, so again, going back to the types of sleep disorders. Now, the people who are usually hypersomnolent, or meaning excessively sleepy, they tend to be older, above at least 40. They tend to be overweight or obese. It's more common in males than in females. People with short, thick necks, especially a collar size, maybe over 17 and a half for males and 16 and a half for females, something like that. 16. Those are more people with BMI over 25, 26. Those people are more prone to have sleep-related breathing problems,
Okay.
and that leads to their daytime fatigue and sleepiness. So a typical person in our sleep clinic is usually older, obese, short, thick neck. Other issues like some people have deviated nasal septum, so their nose is always stuffed. Those are also very prone. People with enlarged tonsils, people with shorter lower jaw, which is known as micrognathia, where the mandible, the lower jaw is smaller, and then compared to, so that they are also more prone to snoring and sleep problems.
Okay.
In females, also similar features. Now, people who have insomniacs tend to be more nervous types, fidgety, nervous,
more
anxious type. So
but
they don't have a body. They can. I cannot identify them physically, but their appearance, their mannerism suggests that they are highly strung or anxious.
They're sort of fidgety or whatever, and you can see them sort of,
high strung and not able to, relax and focus on. Even during interview, they tend to jump here and there, and and have multiple thought processes going on in their mind.
Right. That's how important it is to get your sleep, regulated. That's how important it is, because, as Dr. Suhail said in the previous program that we had, you do not want to get into sleep debt. We're all worried about our bank account, so we're all worried about how much money we have in the bank. We don't want to get into debt there financially. So sleep as well is something that we should be worried about, and making sure that we have enough in the bank and have enough sleep there, so that we don't fall into any particular disorder. Okay, tools to assess sleep quality. Tell us about those.
There are several questionnaires that we use to assess if a patient is suffering from sleep-related problems. the most common one we use is Epworth Sleepiness Scale, which is a series of questions which you self-answer, and you rate yourself from 0 to 3.
Okay, this would be available on the internet?
It should be available.
The name is again, could you just
Epworth,
repeat? Epworth?
Epworth, E-P-W-O-R-T-H.
Okay, Epworth Sleep Scale?
Sleepiness Scale.
Sleepiness Scale. So you might want to try that out if you think you have a problem. The Epworth Sleepiness Scale. Okay.
Then there's another questionnaire called Berlin Questionnaire.
Berlin Questionnaire.
That also assesses your sleep quality. And then there's a fatigue index that we use also to see. Now all these tools, what they tell us is that that your sleep quality is not good, because if you fall above a certain range in either of these scales, that means that you are either sleep deprived because of not giving enough time to sleep, or your sleep quality is not good. And then once you figure out that, yes, I'm falling in one of these scales and my sleep is not good, then you can further explore it with maybe seeing a sleep specialist, or whatever is more convenient for you, going to your own doctor or going to a sleep specialist.
Or maybe some lifestyle changes. Right.
But for lifestyle changes, you need to be guided, and usually, so for guidance, you have to either read about it or go to someone for help.
Right, okay. How often is the actual sleep disorder a symptom of something else that's going on?
If you're talking about underlying medical conditions causing sleep disorders, the common ones are, fortunately, any condition, medical condition, until it is very advanced, does not affect sleep. If your diabetes is out of control, you will have sleep disturbance. If you have your back pain is severe, you'll have sleep problems. If you have cardiac issues, let's say if you have suffering from heart failure, and then until it is advanced, you will not have any symptoms about it. Sleep is fortunately preserved till later on, until it gets advanced enough to cause problems.
Right. Okay. So social media, activity there, and that interfering with, the time people are going to bed actually, and before they are going to bed, if they're using their phone, well, of course, there's something happening there. It may be something they read about, an event or something, and then so they have a bit of an investment in there, maybe emotional, it might be mental, whatever. And then right before going to bed, then you put your phone away, and then of course that screen has been glaring in your face as well, in your eyes as well. How much of that is disrupting your sleep?
It definitely affects it, because recently even the medical research has shown that the blue light that our cell phones and the tablets emit can cause sleep disturbance.
Right.
So one of the things that we always advise people who have difficulty with sleep is to leave their cell phones and tablets out of the bed, meaning, and especially, before you go to sleep, if you are doing some kind of chat, or you're doing some kind of research or something, not only the light itself, but whatever the thought behind it is going to stimulate your mind and cause. So these things are contributing to our problems with sleep, not only with insomnia, but also not only with sleep onset insomnia, but also with sleep maintenance problem also. We wake up thinking about things and you can't go back to sleep, and so not only the light disturbs it, but also the thought process that goes along with using it also.
Many people say, you have these totges and things like that, and that have been passed down from generations. Warm milk will help you fall asleep. Is that true?
It's possible. Possible. Anything that comforts you would. It's basically, I think it would help with comfort.
Yeah.
the, the room temperature, several things that you can do to help yourself keep the room colder. The cooler temperature allows for a better sleep. Eating, not eating before going to bed helps. Having a dark bedroom with less lights or lights coming through the shades, or that also helps. Yeah, a darker environment helps. Quieter environment helps. Usually if someone is having trouble with sleeping, the absence of clocks in the rooms help.
Okay, that's a good
so
tip
you
as well.
don't
So
wake up, keep looking at the clock.
And I haven't slept yet, and now what's going to happen?
Exactly, it creates anxiety also.
Okay.
And the sound of the clock also, ticking. Well, nowadays they don't have those ticking clocks, but if those would also disturb your sleep. So these are some things that you can do, and another important thing is, unless we always advise people that unless you are sleepy, don't go and lay down in the bed, because once you go lay down in bed and you can't sleep, then you start tossing and turning, and you start getting stressed out and thinking about sleep and thinking about the next day. And so only go to sleep, lay down to sleep when you are sleepy. That's also, I'll maybe give you a list of things which we can put on your Facebook, and it's called the Rules of Good Sleep Hygiene, and it
Definitely.
Lists
that would be very
all
helpful.
these things, and it all and helps people
Sometimes
understand.
they may be very, very simple things that they're just overlooking, that you don't
Right.
realize, as you
Right.
said about the clock.
Right.
That probably going on many, many places, and
Right.
you're not realizing that. Okay, pillows and proper mattresses. How much of that plays a role in your sleep
It has to be
quality?
comfortable. Basically, and some people like hard mattress, some like soft mattress. Whatever whatever makes you comfortable would help. But basically, the whole environment should be comfortable for you,
Right.
if you want to get a good
Right.
night's sleep. Now, the people who other than these people with excessive sleepiness, sleep-related breathing problems, they do benefit from further intervention as well. We can advise them to avoid certain positions to sleep in, like the worst position to sleep in is laying on your back and on a supine position, because
Right.
it forces all the weight on your chest and your neck.
Okay.
They should always be sleeping on the side or or prone on their belly. Losing weight definitely helps. Losing 10% of your body weight can improve your sleep quality.
And it will improve so much else as well, not just the sleep
Right.
quality. True.
Right. And then they say if you lose about 10 to 20% of your body weight, your sleep-related breathing problems or apnea problems can go down to go down by 30 to 40%.
That's quite a huge percentage.
Right, and and further interventions for them, we offer. There's a machine called CPAP machine, which means a continuous positive airwave device, which basically is like a little air compressor and a mask which you put on their face, and it's very common in the West. People are using it a lot, and also now in Pakistan it's easily available. What it does, it forces air under pressure into your lungs, and it keeps your airway open. So,
Right.
so instead of so you get rid of your snoring, your sleep-related breathing problems, and and when you wake up, you use it for 4 to 6 hours a night. We wake up and you feel very refreshed, and have all your problems with daytime sleepiness, fatigues are absolutely minimized.
And this is for who? Who is
People
this
with
for?
sleep apnea
With
and
who have
people who
been-
have excessive snoring.
Okay, this is for
Yeah,
those.
because both conditions can lead to to non-refreshing sleep and restless sleep. So by using the CPAP machine, you see, people always thought that snoring is good for you because the people who snore are very heavy sleepers. But actually, medical science shows us that people who snores a lot, their sleep is disturbed. So they
Actually.
sleep a lot
And
more
also
than
the people around them, if they're
Also,
light
right.
sleepers as well.
Right.
Okay, so Dr. Sohail Naseem, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but the subject is so vast that there's so much to talk about, and I'm sure that we'll have you back in future episodes and we get more feedback from our viewers about what they want to know, and we'll keep this going. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, and with that we come to the end of today's program. So much we have found out about sleep disorders, and maybe the little things that you're not even aware of are making you suffer from insomnia. So the thing is to just be aware and to, as the subject is of this program, health is wealth, it's something that we don't want you to realize too late. It's something that we should be always mindful of so that we can nip the evil in the bud, and whatever, prevention is always better than cure. So with those words, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye-bye.